Millennials. Just a couple webinar tips for you all. Make sure you join using your mic and speakers or dial in. Also, we would love to take questions, so make sure if you have any questions that you enter them into the Q&A pane, and we will get to those as soon as we can. And I'd like to introduce our featured speaker today. We have Alicia Garibaldi. She is the Senior Content Marketing Manager and author of Employer Branding for Dummies here at Glassdoor. We're so sorry to say, but our other speaker, Jennifer from Box, unfortunately had a last-minute family emergency. But Alicia will cover some of her content and then talk to the Box case study at the end. And now I'd like to pass things right on over to Alicia.
Thank you so much, Shay, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm so excited to be speaking on this webinar. I'm sad that Jennifer couldn't join us, but I'll touch on some of her points and also a little bit about her success metrics at the end of the webinar. Yeah, let's get started. I wanted to open up by talking about the difference between grads versus millennials, right? Because we're starting to see in the next few years that different generations are going to be coming through to graduate. So we're focused mainly on millennials for purposes of this webinar. A lot of the stats I'm going to be throwing out are about millennials. But keep in mind, we're starting to see some of these interests change. So I always say with employer branding, it's not a set it and forget it strategy. You have to constantly be evolving to attract and retain the best talent. So what is a grad? It's any student who has graduated college within the past year. Recent grads are typically between the ages of 22 to 27. You know, these generations that have come up the ranks are mostly millennials, but we're starting to see a shift to Gen Z starting to graduate from college. And I actually attended a webinar recently, and they have a different set of priorities. So like I said, you have to constantly evolve that strategy as different graduates come out of college. They actually are more interested in, they have a bigger focus on compensation than millennials. So a lot of the stats I go over today are millennial specific, but keep in mind that might not be college grads in the next few years and what they're interested in. You know, as the cost of living increases, there are different interests as society changes and all of that. A millennial is someone or any individual born between 1980 and 1994. This generation, they love technology, they love the ability to multitask, and they have a desire for instant gratification and recognition. So I'm going to talk a lot about these programs on the webinars today. We have 10 top secrets that I'm going to cover. Also, be sure if you'd like to tweet during the session today, use the hashtag Glassdoor. We'd love to interact with you on Twitter as well. So lots of stats. Recent grads and millennials, they're flooding the job market. As you can see up on the screen, 36% of the workforce in the U.S. will be made up of millennials this year. That's a crazy stat. And also 46% will make up the workforce in 2022. So, you know, regardless of different generations coming up the ranks, you have to have, you know, taken the interests of millennials and keep those in mind as you develop your employer brand strategy, because they are going to make up, you know, quite a bit of the workforce in the next 10 years. And then by 2016, 22 million students will be enrolled in U.S. degree granting institutions or universities. So simply put, recent grads are the future of every organization, and to keep a business healthy and thriving, it's essential to recruit top talent out of this generational pool. So making sure you appeal to them and have, you know, their needs and wants integrated into your strategy, it's definitely critical as you win the war for talent in this upcoming year. So let's dive into the top 10 secrets to recruiting the brightest grads and millennials. Firstly, you know, Jennifer was going to talk about this because I know Box has a strategy and they use career fairs quite a bit. And what we see actually is 65% of millennials say they hear about companies through friends and job boards. So we definitely don't want to devalue the importance of career fairs, because a lot of companies do use this in their strategy and it works really well. And, you know, I know for Box, they load them up with swag and they wear those Box t-shirts all over the campus, and it's a great way to build awareness, you know. And I always say, I think the reason that we don't see more millennials citing career fairs as how they got the job, because a lot of them aren't aware of those strategies. So I think what's so important, with any career fair or meetup that you're scheduling, and we saw with engineers when we survey them and sales professionals that meetups are important. We use that as a strategy at Glassdoor actually, and we try to build that awareness. And the great way to do that actually is through display advertisement, because you can be really strategic about who sees the ad. So you can target by geography and also age range. If I only want to appeal to these people that are coming out of college, this year, you can target that strategy and make sure they know where you are, where your presence is, and be sure to show up. And these people talk. So with this generation, it's important that you really have good word of mouth. Definitely be looking on Glassdoor, see what your employees are saying, and how many of those employees at your company are recommending your company to others, because this is a lot of how they're hearing about jobs, and they're very tech savvy. So if they see that ad, they might share it with other people, like, hey, I heard you talk about this company. They're going to be at the career fair this, Saturday or whatever it is. Make sure that you really build that good word of mouth and brand awareness. Secondly, you want to recruit with your best. So I always say, interview those A players at your organization, that are millennials, and say, what appeals to you here? What makes you stay? What have we done that was good? What worked? What didn't? Integrate them into your strategy. Leverage employees who are the best representation of your brand and overall mission. Recent grads, they want to hear much more than just that job description. They want to understand the goal of the organization and really get behind it. I know when we surveyed sales professionals, a lot of them were more interested in selling something compelling. That really actually kind of sold them on a job. So sell them on how, what your organization is all about, what they're going to be doing for the world, because a lot of them are interested more in that. Also ensure that those job titles that you're recruiting for are covered in reviews that, those candidates might be reading. So make sure, your star players are posting reviews on what it's like to work there, and hire employees who are excited and passionate to share your story with other young professionals. Remember, they're interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. I know when I interviewed interns over the summer, they had about 4 offers on the table. So, you're selling them on your organization and why it's a great place to work just as much as they are selling themselves. And I love this stat on the screen. So you'll see with millennials, like I said, Gen Z, we're starting to see a little bit of a difference, but for millennials, they'd rather make $40K at a job they love than $100K a year at a job they think is boring. So really sell them on, the products that you're going to be selling to customers or whatever it might be that makes your company different. Another blog post that I think is great to check out, and we'll be covering a lot more, on Gen Z and doing a lot more studies in this upcoming year. So be sure to subscribe to the blog at employers.glassdoor.com. And a great post is 3 perks you didn't know millennials would love. Hint, hint, it's food, unlimited PTO, and healthcare. So investing in those perks actually can go a long way to win the war for talent in this generational pool. And also see who's declining job offers. So maybe you had an internship and they declined coming to work for you full time. You can actually filter through that on Glassdoor for free. So take advantage of that while it is free with a free employer account. And you can see, who's declining your job offers and revise your strategy from what you learned there. So third, build brand ambassadors. I always say when I talk about employer branding, your employees are your brand. You have to be, reading those reviews, be in touch with what they really like about the organization, see what you can sell, and also be transparent about, realistic, realities of what the job entails. This will set you up for success, and I'll cover this in a little bit in more detail, but with our best places to work list that just came out, we're seeing a ton of them are responding to reviews on that public platform, and they're encouraging employees to post reviews, upload photos, and interact with potential candidates. Like I said, let them sell your company for you. This is a word of mouth generation, so lean on them to promote your brand. And, remind recruiters that those interviews are a two-way street, and recent grads, although they're frantic to impress you, you also have to convince them why your career is the best fit for them. I loved a quote from Josh Burson at our Employer Brand Summit, you know, life is complicated enough without work being complicated too. You know, show them how this job position is the best place for them, because in a lot of cases, we're spending more time with what I call my work family than, you know, my family at home. So definitely tell them how that company is going to kind of fulfill them on a day-to-day basis, and utilize photos and videos to tell that story. Showcase, you know, the team that they're going to be joining, that culture, you know, and what your office is like on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of these candidates, you know, 46% of Glassdoor members are reading reviews before they've even talked to anybody. You know, and this is a good thing, because what we see candidates actually self-qualifying themselves for the role in advance. So when they apply to a job more informed, that's higher quality, and they're more likely to accept the job offer because they're informed about what it really entails. You know, and like I said, include responding to reviews as part of your employee engagement strategy, and realize that you're not just responding to the person that wrote the review, but the thousands of candidates who might be reading it and seeing what you're all about by addressing, you know, hey, this feedback helps us make our company a better place. Thank you for sharing. A candidate sees that, or if it's a CEO responding and saying, wow, this CEO took time to respond to employees, that's a company I want to get behind and work for. And we actually had a recent survey that found that 69% of candidates say their perception improves of a company when they see an employer respond to review. So again, this is a tech-savvy group. They're on all of these social platforms interacting with your brand. So be sure that your company message is out there and that you're joining and monitoring that conversation. Number 4 is recognizing potential. And it's funny, this step actually came at the perfect time, because I was reading a blog recently that covered exactly this. You know, and at 22 years old, grads, they might not have it all figured out as much as they think they do. You know, and even though they have that great GPA, like, I think interviewing for the right potential and those qualities are going to take you a lot farther. And like I said, I just recently read this blog post about how among a sample size of gifted children, only a handful had very high professional achievement. It was Louis Terman, a professor at Stanford. He followed a sample size of kids that had very high IQs, and he was so surprised by the results. And the study demonstrated that exceptional skills, they weren't enough to predict high performance. Google actually came to this same conclusion, according to this study, and strong work ethic and dependability are much more important to interview for. Also, openness to experience, you know, curiosity, people that will take any task and run with it or bring good ideas to the table. You know, that'll take your company a lot farther. So personality fit and recognizing potential, definitely more important, you know, we think, than limiting the job role to a certain GPA requirement. And up on the screen, this is just, I know this is a painful slide to see, because it's all about finding that needle in a haystack. We go through, you know, thousands of resumes as well, and, you know, having a targeted approach rather than this post and pray model that we're kind of evolving from, and building that awareness. It's critical, like I said, to find that needle in a haystack candidate that's going to move your business forward. We always hear from our customers that candidates, since they come in a lot more educated, and they're reading a ton of information about the salary, the benefits, you know, the interview reviews. They come in way more prepared, way more higher quality, and way more likely to accept that job offer in the long run. So also having that criteria of qualities, like I talked about, to screen for the role will definitely save you a ton of time. You know, we always say we like to hire people that no task is too big or too small to do. Everybody is part of the team. Everybody's scrappy doing every part of the role. Number 5, this is a hard one, but we also think that this is important. I always say those first impressions definitely are part of your employer brand as well. See what the interview process was like, how you came across to the candidate. That can be really telling, you know, and also interview people if they leave your company. All of this, you know, the journey of the company is part of that employer brand. All of these stories make it up. And those first impressions are really important. So responding to every application ensures a really positive sentiment, especially with a generation that talks a ton. And, you know, remember, like I said, they talk to each other quite a bit. And even if one person wasn't the right fit, they may lead you to somebody else that was. We just interviewed somebody recently, and they said, I might not be the best fit, but I know who is. And they sent us a candidate that was a fabulous fit. So they enjoyed the process so much that they recruited for us, which is, definitely what you want to do, and not let candidates feel like they're just entering this black hole when they apply. And this is just, again, reiterating the point on how important it is to respond, to candidates on a public platform or however it might be, and include that in your employee engagement strategy. It'll pay dividends in the long run. I know with consumers, when they experience a really quick brand response, they're more likely to recommend that brand to others. So keep that in mind, and definitely, like I said, make sure that that is part of your process. I know 1-800-CONTACTS actually had a great way that they looked at it, and they're like, we wouldn't ignore our customer feedback. Why are our employees any different? And they revised their whole strategy to make sure that they had this feedback loop with their employees, which I think is a great way to look at it. Number 6, promise more than just swag. Swag's important to get your name out there. Obviously, it's great for brand awareness. Like I said, I know Box utilizes that as part of their strategy. All those millennials wearing their shirts and, oh, I've heard of that company. Like, where'd you get that? That definitely does help. But when it comes to working at the company, these millennials, they want opportunities to grow and move forward. And like I said, they might not have it all figured out of college. I know, for me, I changed my career quite a few times, and I'm sure many of you on the line are the same way. So offer them those opportunities to move across the company laterally, and also think of benefits that won't break the bank. It might be, hey, we have unlimited PTO. You got to hit your numbers, but, working from home or flexible hours, have company-wide huddles to really build up that culture, encourage feedback. All of that's really important. And like I said, it's just as much about them interviewing you, and they want that full package. A lot of them have a lot of offers on the table, especially with the economy and job stability moving up. They have options on the table. So definitely sell them on those unique things about your company that make you different. I know friends comment all the time, and they get so excited. They're like, oh, wow, you're right on the water. You get to bring your dog to work. Whatever it might be that could stand out, and have those employees share, what makes your company unique on social. Number 7 is don't waste any time. Don't have a lengthy interview process, because like I said, you might wind up losing that great candidate. And it also signals to a candidate that you might have some inefficiencies within the company. And that could be a red flag to a lot of grads. They were like, oh, I felt like I was struggling along. I didn't really know what was happening. Make sure that you're in constant contact with them, making them feel good. Like I said, if they're not a good fit, they might lead you to somebody that is. And I thought this was an interesting stat up on the screen. After 1 year, employers retain about 75% of their new college hires who have internship experience with any employer. This was from a NACE survey in 2013. So remember, recent grads are juggling numerous activities in their daily lives. An unpredictable hiring process might be a no-go for them, especially if they're on a time crunch to only work during a certain time period. So don't lead them on for months. Be really decisive, and don't waste any time in your hiring process. Number 8, I think, is probably one of the most important points that kind of weaved into a lot of the stuff that I've talked about, but embracing transparency in the workplace is so important, in setting up those candidates for success. I know Box was going to talk a lot about this, and how, when they bring people in, they tell them, hey, it's long hours. We work really, really hard. However, we have a great culture. We're going to offer you great benefits, and you're going to enjoy this fabulous ride. And they talk a lot about that. And that sets them up for success. And they didn't want candidates that couldn't, live up to those expectations. So tell them about the challenges. Make sure that they're, in the full loop of what the job entails, especially if it's entry-level positions. We all know the tasks they're going to be doing might not be glamorous. So sell them on, how you're going to integrate them into your process, and provide them with a future at your organization, and give them that opportunity to grow. This generation, actually, too, it's scary. They tend to job hop frequently, so I'm sure a lot of you have seen these stats as well. I found one that said 91% of millennials expect to stay at a job for less than 3 years, according to the Future Workplace Multiple Generations at Work survey. They surveyed 1,200 employees, 150 managers, that means they'll have 15 to 20 jobs over the course of their working lives. So this transparency and feedback loop it's becoming more and more important so that you keep that talent. We all know ramp time, it's so expensive, and finding that needle in a haystack, going through another 250 resumes in some cases to replace that job. You know, being transparent will set up everybody for success, and definitely have that feedback loop, especially with this millennial generation, because they tend to kind of look at what else is out there and job hop quite frequently. So be upfront about what the job entails and continually, you know, evolve your strategy to make sure that you have the best workplace for them. Number 9 is sell them on the work-life balance. Like I said, we spend more time at work sometimes these days than with our own families, and 75% of millennials look for people and culture fit with employers. So, you know, make sure that your teams are cohesive, that everybody's working really well together. You know, recruit grads that have done their homework on your company and know why they want to come and work for you. And like I said, be really decisive in that hiring process. You want to hire people that want to be part of your company culture for years to come. So a great reputation or impressive job title, it'll only go so far. Attract and retain recent grads by building a life for them. Don't just sell them on that job description. Tell them what the company is going to do for them. You know, whether it's work-life balance, you know, we highly recommend that because we see that as one of the most important things to employees, and give them that sense of community at your organization. And last but not least, number 10 is foster career development. Again, we talked about this a lot, but this is a, you know, this is a generation that they want those steps to move up the ladder, and 46% they'll leave a job if you don't offer them career growth. So, you know, grads, they may have an idea of what they want, but for many, they're choosing the right career path. It can be really daunting. So allow grads to explore other departments. You know, when people come on board for us, I'm like, you know, go explore these other departments and make sure that your interest is going to keep you here for the long run. If it's not, like, we want to put you in a place that's going to ensure that you are happy and grow with this company. You know, and grads may change jobs, but that doesn't mean they have to change companies, right? So offer them, like I said, those lateral movements, and make sure that you have a company that's agile and placing people in the right positions that keeps them happy for the long haul. And also, just because I did say that millennials want to, you know, maybe job hoppers, don't believe that they don't want to find a permanent home. Highlight training and development programs and encourage them to find out what they're truly passionate about and help them thrive in that position. So this is where I was going to hand it over to Jennifer Fox. For those of you who joined a little bit late, we're so sorry that she couldn't join us today. She had a last-minute emergency. So here are some of the slides, and I'm going to speak to just a few of them because I don't want to cover her whole story. We'll have her, you know, we'll definitely ensure that she joins us on another webinar soon. But one of her slides was trust new grads. This was really important at Fox, that they empowered, you know, those people that they hired, you know, to achieve higher results, you know. And I know we actually believe in the same principle at Glassdoor, and, you know, she had a personal story how, you know, the VP said, just make good decisions. And I think this is so important that people really feel heard and a part of your organization, and like that they're contributing and making a difference. Like I said, every part of a new grad's job might not be glamorous, but give them that stuff that helps them feel fulfilled and part of this, you know, part of your greater growth as a company. They'll be more likely to stay for the long haul if you offer opportunities like that. And it also, you know, gives them that opportunity to succeed and push your company forward. She also said it was important to start with intern programs. This is a great thing that we do at Glassdoor as well. That, you know, hiring interns in a lot of cases works out really well economically, and then you can decide, okay, is this person the right fit? Are they stepping up to every challenge I've given them? And you can assess after 3 to 6 months if, you know, you're going to bring them on full time, or say, you know, we've had to do it in some cases, hey, this wasn't the right fit, but, you know, we wish you all the best, and, you know, this has been a great journey for all of us. So, you know, definitely make sure that you offer intern programs as well, because that, you know, that way you can, I guess Fox's value proposition was take risks and fail fast. So keep that in mind as you develop your strategy as well. And then a little bit about their success metrics. So they compete for talent with companies like Google and Microsoft, and their main objective was to really increase brand exposure among millennials. And before utilizing Glassdoor analytics, they had minimal tracking abilities and no insight into competitors and nothing to compare themselves to. So with Glassdoor, they really were able to improve their company profile. They launched marketing campaigns, like I talked about, display ads, targeting people between the ages of 18 and 34. And within 30 days, they increased their traffic to their profile page from 30,000 impressions to 81,000 unique visitors. 84% of those people were millennials. So totally hit all their targets, and seeing which candidates are coming to your page can really help you refine your strategy and see where you need to make improvements. How can I target talent from different organizations, to ensure that they come and work for us? What can I learn from another company's reviews? I mean, all this information is free to you to use. And I know our recruiters, they'll look at, okay, what company is this candidate coming from? I'm going to read the reviews. I'm going to see, where we differ and how I can sell them on why Glassdoor is a better place than this other company that they're coming to interview from. So all this info is at your disposal to utilize as well. And we deliver measurable results here at Glassdoor. So like I talked about, our customers see 2 times the quality because those candidates are more informed. They typically go through less resumes, have higher acceptance rates for hires, 3 times the influence. That has to do with brand exposure and traffic to their page, and all at a lower cost per hire. Again, I encourage all of you on the line to unlock your free employer account. It's a great way to start monitoring traffic and see who's coming to your page today. There's so many fabulous tools that are free right now that you can take advantage of, so go ahead. We'll send you an email after this and make it super easy, and I encourage all of you to do that. You can actually become an open company just with your free employer account as well, so that's a great program to ensure transparency within your organization. And now I think we have about 3 minutes or so to open it up for some Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and look at some of those questions that came in. A lot of questions about the recording and presentation. Like I said, we will follow up with you all after this webinar. It'll have the recording, it'll have the slideshow to the presentation, as well as an easy way for you to sign up for a free employer account today. We had another question on the line, which was, should I respond to all negative reviews? Now, that's actually a great question, and I meant to cover this when I talked about responding to reviews, but a great thing to look at is how many candidates noted that review as helpful. Because on Glassdoor, they can actually go through and check, oh, this was helpful. So if 7 candidates are noting, or it could be employees, like, this was a super helpful review, this helped me make a decision, prioritize those reviews first and put your message on those. That can really help as a strategy. I also say those open companies that are noted on Glassdoor, part of the steps, one of the 5 steps is responding to reviews. So go to their pages, and you can actually filter from high to low ratings. So go to the open companies. I know 1-800-CONTACT is one, Salesforce is one. There's, hundreds for you to poke through and look at and filter by the rating and see how they responded to negative reviews for some guidance on how to do so going forward. We also have an ebook, 5 do's and don'ts when responding to reviews. One of them is always say thank you, but check out that ebook as well, because that can be super helpful. And I mean, obviously, for some of these larger companies, responding to every review isn't always possible, but we think a good mix of responding to some of the negatives, some of the positives, definitely prioritize those that people find are helpful is definitely a good strategy to use. So I hope that helps. And then who from the company should respond? So we actually see this crazy good feedback from employees and candidates when a CEO responds. You can say you don't have to disclose which title you are at the organization. You could even say HR team is responding, but we do see this ginormous feedback of positivity when it is a CEO. If your CEO can't get involved, or you can approve some responses on his or her behalf, that can always be great as well. And then if you could only pick one thing, what would you say is the one thing millennials care most about when looking for jobs? What I see over and over and over again when I look at stats is career growth. So making sure that you're providing them with a ladder to success and constantly talking to them I do this as a manager as well. It's, I meet with my team and I'm like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to do in the next 2 years? What is going to help you feel fulfilled every single day? You got to have those conversations, and growth seems to be kind of the resounding message that we see from this audience. And like I said, this is changing with Gen Z, which is, coming up next, and we'll cover that a lot next year. But for them, it might be comp. So I think evolving that strategy over time is very important, and making sure their needs are met, they're feeling fulfilled at their job and working on something important is going to take your company really far. So thanks again for joining us today on this webinar. And like I said, you'll see a follow-up soon. And have a wonderful day. Thank you.